Hi guys, thanks for joining me. I've been focusing on some Easter related decorations lately, and so I uploaded a video recently. It says bunnies are cute but Jesus is the reason, and that was done on an 8x10 canvas board. And then on the video that I published yesterday, I made these adorable fabric carrots, and then on tonight's video I'm making this adorable little Easter bunny sign. Now this is just an 8x10 canvas board, but you could use a regular fabric canvas, you could use just a piece of wood, anything you want. And then I painted it, and then my bunny is made out of fabric and his cute little tail is just a cotton ball. So if you want to join me, grab your supplies and let's start crafting. I'm going to use this canvas board right here. And I started a project on it before Christmas, and I didn't like how it was coming out, and so I started the project over on a new board because I wasn't patient enough to let it dry so I could just paint over it. And so this morning I kind of sanded off some of the texture of this, and I'm going to use this canvas board. It's the only one that I have in my house that's this size, and so I'm just going to reuse this one. If you are starting with a brand new canvas board or a canvas of any type, I would recommend still doing this first step. And that is going ahead and putting a base coat of your main color on your canvas board. So I want the main color of my board to be a bright pink, and so I'm going to use this bright magenta just as my base. And then after that dries, I'll use all of these colors plus white. And then I may throw in just a little gray or black. Sometimes that helps add more depth to your pictures. So I'll have those nearby. But for now, again, all I'm going to do is put a base coat on this. So stir up your paint really well. And then I'm just going to put quite a bit on. When I did my rabbits are cute, or bunnies are cute, but Jesus is the reason painting, I found that I really liked the colors in the first layer of paint that I did, but it wasn't thick enough and you could see through it just slightly, and I really want mine to be more opaque than that. And this is probably the only time I will actually paint the sides. So I want to try to get those really well. I can always touch up the sides later, but you risk when you're doing the sides of accidentally getting some of the paint on top. And if you have something that you are in love with and then you accidentally get some paint on top, that would not be good. Now my paint's old, so it has a little bit of lumps in it. If you're wondering what I'm doing when I'm pressing my brush off to the side, so you can see what I mean by it doesn't get really opaque with one layer. And so I will actually do at least 2 layers of this background color. I'm not necessarily going to show you me doing the second layer, and if I do a third layer, the third layer, because it's just the same thing, just boring, just putting it on. I'm ready to go ahead and move forward with my canvas. Now I put 2 coats over the whole thing, and then the black was still showing, so I put a little white on, and then after that dried, more pink on. So you might be able to see this is a little lighter. That's where there was a coat of white covering the black. I want to have my paints over here and ready. The goal is to have it look about like this, but I want to have some mottled effects, or some, I wouldn't call it ombre, but some differences. I don't want it just one flat color. And so I actually brought some candy apple red over as well. And I'm just going to start playing and blending, and then I'll stop when I like it. So I'm just going to put some lines of paint. And just in case you want to know the colors, the first one that I did, and it's my background, that's called Bright Magenta. That's an apple barrel paint. And then this is called Pink Parfait. It's also apple barrel. Then I think I'll go with a little bit of Honeysuckle Pink. It's a really bright pink. Now, before I add any white or other colors, I'm just going to see what this looks like. So I'm going to start in the middle, just go back and forth, and work my way up and down the canvas. Now, I'm not sure if my bunny is in my projects or my images. Okay, there he is. So I already brought him into Cricut Design Space some time ago. And let me make this smaller. Okay, so right now he is 7.074 by almost 4 inches. I want him to take up most of the area on my canvas board, so I'm going to go ahead and put him at 8.5 tall. Let's see what that would do to the width. Okay, so that gets him to 4 3/4 inches, almost 5 inches wide. I think that's what I will go with. I'm going to put my fabric pretty side up. And so if I want the ear to flop this way, I'm going to leave it that way. If I were putting my fabric pretty side down and I wanted the ear over here, then I would have to mirror this image. But my fabric's going to be pretty side up, so I'll click Make It. Continue. I don't remember what setting I used before when I cut this fabric with the heat and bond on the back, so I'm just going to see what all fabrics I have. Ooh, there is a lot. Okay, medium fabrics like cotton bonded. I'll just go with that one. Now I don't want that. I want to use my rotary blade, so I'm going to have to trick it into thinking that it's something else. I'm going to go ahead and use this heavy fabrics like denim because I know that that uses the rotary blade. And then I'm going to put less pressure and we'll see how that works. I want my bunny to be pretty thick so that it lays really nice and smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and put some heat and bond on the back of this fabric. That will also make it a lot easier to cut it out on my Cricut Maker. If you don't have a cutting machine, you could easily draw a template for this bunny or print one off of the internet and then just cut out the template, lay it down, draw around it, and then cut it out by hand. That would be fine. I have gotten a ton of use out of this heat and bond. It's been sitting around for years and I've just used a lot of it this year. I want the heat and bond to be slightly smaller than the fabric. so that I don't have any of the adhesive from the Heat and Bond ooze out. So I'm going to pull my fabric quite a ways this way off the fabric, or I'm sorry, off the Heat and Bond. Then I'll just cut along where the fabric currently is. Then when I shift it back over, it should be just perfect. Okay, I think that'll be fine. Now the instructions say just to heat this for about 2 seconds, and then once you take your liner off, if you're adhering it to anything else, then you press it for about 8 seconds. So I'm just going to do this for 3-4 seconds. This mat was originally a strong grip mat, but it's not very sticky. It's not as sticky as a strong grip mat needs to be. So I use it for a standard grip mat now. And like I said, I'm going to put my fabric pretty side up. I've found with the rotary blade that I really like how that turns out. So I'll go ahead and really press this down to the mat. Okay, that feels very stuck. So go ahead and change out my blade. So let's see how this works. Okay, looks like it's coming up just fine. Super! That's really cute. Okay, so it came off the backing of the Heat and Bond. The Heat and Bond is still on the back. You can see that is just a beautiful cut. It's time to get the project wrapped up. And so let me go ahead and move on. I did take my board outside and I sprayed it with this Mod Podge. It's a matte finish, but you do see just a slight sheen, maybe like a satin. I like it. It's a really great sheen. Okay, so I have been experimenting, and first I just ironed a scrap piece of the fabric that had the Heat and Bond on the back onto this piece of wood, and that worked really well, but that would be a very flat design. I really want to have some dimension to mine, so then I took just a hot glue gun and I put the glue around the outside edge, and then I shoved some fiber fill in. That I had, well, not super great results, and the glue doesn't even want to stick now. And then the third thing I did was I took a piece of the material that had the Heat and Bond on the back, and I put some fiber fill in it, put a piece of waxed paper under it, and then a Teflon sheet over this, and I heated it, and it does stick to it. But then I had the wax paper sticking to the edges of my fabric. So then the Heat and Bond would have to be reactivated. I'd probably have to put a new strip all around the outside of the bunny. So I think what I'm going to try to do is put some heat down around these edges and then lift up, shove a little bit of fiberfill under there. It's not going to be very dimensional, it's going to be very little, but I do want to try that. So the first thing I need to do is figure out exactly where I want my bunny. Okay, we're going to call that good. All right, bunny. Hopefully you can cooperate with me. I have my little Easy Press Mini and it is on medium. Okay, so I can see a little bit through my Teflon sheet. Hopefully I don't burn the paint. We'll see how this turns out. I really think that most of the dimension in this bunny is going to have to be just in the belly. I don't think by the time I get to the ears that I'm going to be able to shove very much in there, plus get it glued down to the board. All right, let me see what that's like. Okay, it's stuck to about right there. I probably should let it cool off just a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and go. Now, there's not going to be room for much in here because I wasn't able to bunch this up or take into account that I'd be wanting to do that. Okay, I like the belly. I want to make sure the fiber fill is not real close to the edge. I don't want it sticking out. I think I'm fine on my right side, but the left side there was a little bit just barely poking through. Okay. Yeah, that's hot. Okay, so I have a puffy belly. Oh, part of that stuck down already. Okay. Now the ears, they are not getting any fiber fill, so I'll just stick those down to the canvas. Excellent. All right. So that is really, really cute. Now, the only thing that I see is that I slightly melted, okay, there's a little fiber fill hanging out. I'll just have to get rid of that. But I slightly melted the paint and the finish right there. I know I will not be able to go back and touch that up and make it look right. So if you do this, don't stay in one place very long, and maybe use 2 layers of the Teflon sheet or something like I did after I saw that. Maybe I can think of something that'll cover it, or maybe as it cools some, I won't even notice it anymore. Now maybe one thing I could do is just really rub on that and try to get some of that texture off, and then cover over the rest of it and do a light spraying outside on that. I don't know if that's even worth it. The last thing I need to do is give this guy a tail. This is just a cotton ball. Fortunately, we had some. That sticks out a long way. I'm going to try to cut a little bit off. Okay, and that actually gives you a really flat area to be able to glue it down. I'm going to cut off just a little bit more. Perfect. Okay, it feels like my glue gun is heated up enough. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on this cotton ball. Let's see, how about right there? This is really adorable and so easy to do. So if you need some more Easter decorations, how about giving this project a try? Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.